Hi, everybody. I want to quickly introduce myself. I'm Dan Robb. I'm the new manager of youth and education programming. So once I got this job, one of the things that I found out very quickly, and I was super excited about, was the program that we're going to be talking about tonight. USA Ultimate has been doing a lot in the last couple of years to try and expand their outreach, creating girls, state coordinators at the youth level, and outreach state coordinators at the youth level. And part of that whole outreach program and expansion of outreach is the GUM program, which is being run phenomenally well by the two women sitting on either side of it. So I think you all already know this, but that's Heather Ann, and that's Zara, and this is their show.
Thank you so much, Dan. We are so excited to be here because a year ago today, we stood in front of many of you and we said, we're in this crazy task force process, and now we have this thing and it's called GUM. And now we get to report back and say, this is what a year of GUM has brought. This is our progress. So tonight we'll do a little intro, we'll meet the GUM team, and we'll go over each of our 5 ultimate priorities. These are the action items that the task force decided on and that we've been really excited to move forward with. We'll talk about our Women's Sports Foundation partnership. And then we'll have a little fun too. And then we'll take some questions because we really like talking about Girls Ultimate. So ask away. So the Girls Ultimate movement, this is a girls-focused initiative. We just want to grow the number of girls playing, period. Full stop, that's what we're all about. So to bring us all up to speed, I know a lot of you were here last year, but we want to make sure everyone's on the same page. We're going to jump into our video about the task force process so we know what's going on. Ready?
Ultimate is the fastest growing team sport in the U.S., and we've got a lot to celebrate. From 2007 to 2013, total USA Ultimate membership skyrocketed almost 75%. Last summer at the World Games, the United States national teams won an amazing 36-0 across 4 squads. With such strong role models to look up to, it's no surprise that today, over 13,000 youth are playing organized Ultimate in the U.S.
Despite the amazing amount of growth and success our community is experiencing, not all divisions are growing equally. The development and growth of Girls Ultimate is quickly being outpaced by the explosion of male players at the youth level. Of those 13,000 youth playing, only 3,000 are girls. For the last several years, organizers have been talking about how to increase the number of girls playing. But now, it's time to act in order to shift this trend.
USA Ultimate recognized it was time to tackle this issue proactively, to build systems for girls, to prioritize recruiting and retaining more girls and women in our sport. The Girls Ultimate movement seeks to create sustainable national programming to do just that. To capture the knowledge from around the country, GUM's first step was to convene a national task force to brainstorm proposals for USA Ultimate to adopt. The task force brings a mix of experiences, dedication to girls and women in Ultimate, and geographic diversity. Once a group of 35 dedicated task force members were chosen, they were placed into 5 working groups.
These groups were asked to dream big and be creative. Really, the sky was the limit. Each group looked at the issue of increasing girls' participation from a different angle. Building systems, best practices, consciousness raising, growth versus development, and coaching.
First, the groups worked to define the needs within their topic. Next, it was time to dream. If there were no barriers, what would they do to change the future of Girls Ultimate? Finally, each group narrowed down their ideas to 5 action items to be presented to the task force at large. GUM wanted to hear from girls playing Ultimate as well. In May, GUM released a national survey asking players what changes they would like to see, and got 126 responses from women who played at the youth level.
Next, GUM reached out to local organizers to conduct focus groups with current youth players in Seattle, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Atlanta, and North Carolina. Youth voices are central to the movement. Meanwhile, a panel of task force representatives, USA Ultimate staff members, and GUM co-chairs met to select the final 5 action items for USA Ultimate to move on.
The panel asked, what's the most important? What's the most needed? What's the most feasible? The Girls Ultimate Movement proudly presents our 5 ultimate priorities. 1. Develop media resources for girls.
2. Pilot new girls-focused program each year from 2015 to 2019.
3. Create a curriculum for partnership with youth sports organizations.
4. Organize a national gun volunteer structure.
5. Research best practices and make recommendations for Youth Ultimate.
Planning and structure for implementation of programs related to these action items will begin in 2014, with approved programming to begin in 2015. Yearly gun progress reports will be presented in conjunction with the U.S. Open.
We're excited to present the work we've done so far and to invite you to join the Girls Ultimate movement. Together, we have the opportunity to grow the girls division.
We have these 5 ultimate priorities, and we want to give another shout out to the task force. Any task force members in here? Yes? Yes, we give them all a hand. There's a lot of them. All right, so building on these 5 priorities, we needed to assemble a team. So we have Heather Ann, and she's the National Girls Director, and she'll talk more about that volunteer structure later. And I'm the working group chair, so I oversee the other action items, the other ultimate priorities. For GUM curriculum, we have Laura Magnotta, GUM data analysis, Megan Brown, GUM media, Sarah Davis. Where is she? She's here. She's here. Yeah. GUM pilot programs, we have Sarah Ancio. Yeah. And then, of course, we have Dan, who you already met, and Sarah Powers, who's a coordinator at USA Ultimate. All right, so 5 priorities: media, girls-focused programming, youth sports organizations, GUM volunteer structure, and analyzing data. So first is media, and I'm going to throw it to Heather Ann to talk to you about what we've done.
Hi everyone, I'm really excited to talk with you about the media work that we've been doing. In all of the task force groups that we're talking, planning all this that you've heard about, media came up again and again. It was something that was also echoed by all the youth that we talked to about GUM, is just really finding a space where Girls Ultimate could exist and connect in a media world. So we developed these 3 different goals for that. And the one we've really focused on this year is to research and create a community-driven, collaborative, and interactive web presence. And as you've probably seen, we've harnessed a lot of the energy of the community and of you all who have been amazing in the realm of social media. We've been on Facebook and Twitter. Most recently, Sarah Davis, our awesome media chair, who's getting shout-outs again, created us an Instagram account that we're getting up and running. But what we really were hearing is that we wanted something more. We wanted a web presence. So we've been putting in time and work and ideas to generate a USA Ultimate GUM website. The working group for this kind of structured it into 2 pieces. Version 1, which aims to really get the community connected through the GUM Clinic program. The GUM Clinic program has really taken off, and there's been a lot of GUM clinics around the country getting girls playing, and to kind of use that as a model to set up our website and build from there. Version 2 is going to expand using all the stuff these other working groups are doing that you're going to hear about tonight to really build out the rest of those resources with GUM curriculum materials, GUM data analysis results, GUM pilot programs, and GUM specific media. And so we're really excited to show you the GUMUSAUltimate.org website. It's going to be posted on USA Ultimate, and it is going to be kind of a space to kind of start all of that connectedness. And we're hoping to roll it out in the next couple of days. So this is a screenshot on the front page. And a few of the things to take away at the top, which is probably a little bit hard to see, there's a countdown to the next GUM clinic. There's going to be really easy access for girls to find GUM clinics near them, and also really easy access for teams, organizations, coordinators to organize to run GUM clinics. Also, along the top, there's going to be access to resources. I think that's where a lot of our curriculum work will end up going. So there's going to be a GUM blog that'll get built out using content from GUM advocates across the country and girls themselves. GUM Local, which will connect us down to local organizers and help girls find what they need on the local level. An event area, the 5 ultimate GUM headbands that you see some of us sporting, there will be access to things like that to help support GUM and continue to support what we've been doing. And obviously up in the top right, you can see there'll be ways to continue to like, love, follow, get excited about GUM all over social media. Here's an example of the GUM events calendar section and what that's going to look like for different clinics, and it's going to link back into the USA website as well, where we can kind of have all those things we need to register for these awesome GUM Learn to Play clinic events. The media group has done an incredible job of coming up with just terrific ideas and really dreaming big, and we're really excited to harness that as we continue to build out the site in the future. A special thank you to our web developer, Steve Sewell, who volunteered a lot of hours in putting this site together and building out the ideas that the media group had to get this off the ground. I'm going to pass it back to Zara to talk about pilot programs.
All right, so for pilot programs, we want to pilot one new program every year. So the one we're focusing on this year are Gummits, Girls Ultimate Summits. This was coined by Tina Booth, and she's embarrassed that we really latched onto it, but we have. Other things coming up, we really want to explore incentive programs for club and college teams to get involved, and we want to do a Poster Girl series. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. All right, so Sarah's done a phenomenal job for us, really starting to think about the Gummits. We're trying to schedule this pro flight finale Gummit. This isn't actually like happening yet, but I put it up there because I want to be really hopeful that it's all going to work out. So the Gummit is a lot of different things, right? The Gummit has a leadership component, it has a playing component. At the pro flight finale, there's going to be a showcase. It's got a ton of stuff going on. And something that's really cool about doing an event like this at a really elite tournament is giving girls access to these elite athletes and seeing the top of the game. Take the Field has organized a North Carolina Gummit, which we can't claim any credit for, but we really want to support them. We said we'll give them swag, and I'm going to go down and speak, and as are several GUM leaders. Sarah organized for Nike camps to give GUM awards at the end of every session. So this is awarded to one boy and one girl for really fostering a great environment for girls to grow. So we're really excited about that, and they get all kinds of fun stickers and headbands and discs and things of that nature. All right, so curriculum. Developing a girls-focused curriculum is a huge, huge part of GUM because there's so many other things that we can jump off from a curriculum. So we really want to create that tiered curriculum first, and that's where we started this year. I want to give a shout out here to Laura Magnotta, who's our lead developer, because she is not an Ultimate player. She's like, yeah, I'll volunteer to do this? Yeah, she's putting so much work, and she continues to. She's a program director at a Boys and Girls Club in Connecticut, so she's giving us such valuable information, like, what does that mean? And I would never do that. If you gave me this curriculum, I wouldn't do that with my kids. And we're like, oh yeah, cool, okay. So I really, really appreciate her perspective, and she's been wrangling all of these Ultimate players to give her, really, really good curriculum ideas. So you can see we've got the curriculum developers listed here, and Meg Duffy and Amanda Maxon are heading up our high school curriculum development, and the rest of us are doing middle school. Amanda Maxon is a current youth player, so having a current youth player develop a youth curriculum is something that we're really excited for, because she also is giving us just so much insight into things that she would not want to do, or would want. So, Meg is going to start passing around. We want to give you a sneak peek of this curriculum, because it's almost done. And so here's session 1 from the middle school curriculum. I don't have enough for all of you. I have enough for 50 of you. So if some of you want to share, just take a peek. For each curriculum session, we have a leadership component that's 45 minutes, and we have a put it into play component. The reason why we did it this way is so it's really, really flexible for these youth sports organizations to run this however they see fit. They can do different 45-minute sessions, they can put it together. So, thank you, Meg. So they're really able to, if they are nervous about doing the put it into play and they need an ultimate coach from the community, maybe that person only comes in once a week. And so right now we have it in 8 different sessions. And here are the different curriculum sessions, all focused on leadership. So we have things like diversity and inclusion, being a worthwhile teammate, self-advocacy. And then I'm really excited that each curriculum module, it ends in the community project. So that's the big culminating project where the girls are able to share what they've learned both about leadership and about Ultimate with their families, with their friends, with anyone that they choose to invite. All right, I'm going to throw it back to Heather and talk about the volunteer structure.
This has been a really big year for the volunteer structure at USA Ultimate on the youth level. It has expanded tremendously, as I'm going to show you in the next couple slides, and there have been a lot of resources thrown behind that, and it has made for an awesome energy across the country for Girls Ultimate. I have spent time working to get the Girls State Youth Coordinator model off the ground. I've also worked some with Claire Chastain, who's the National Outreach Director, to get the Outreach State Youth Coordinator model off the ground and kind of put those in coordination with one another. And we're hoping that we can utilize this volunteer structure to really implement some of these pilot programs and some of the stuff that GUM is doing across the country. The biggest thing that we kept hearing, in addition to the media piece, was that role models are just so important at the girls level, and to kind of use the community to build these community-based connections. And so that's something that we really have kept in mind as we work with our volunteer structure, is to figure out ways to really use those of you who are out there playing at this high level to really connect back with the youth, and that inspires those young players. You can see a bunch of them getting autographs in this photo at GUM Clinic, and they're just really excited about role models in general. So a little over a year ago, we had 4 Girls State Youth Coordinators, 4 pilot ones. We were trying it out, we were seeing what it looked like. A lot of states have state youth coordinators that were general or more open focused. And so we started kind of focusing, what does Girls State Youth Coordinator look like? And in the last year, we've expanded that pretty dramatically. There are now Girls State Youth Coordinators across the country in a ton of different states, which has just expanded our ability to start growing Girls Ultimate at the local level. But we wanted to go beyond that. One of the things I was hearing from my Girls State Youth Coordinators was that they were kind of on their own, right? They were in these communities and it was just them hanging out, trying to do Girls Ultimate stuff. Sometimes they worked with the disc organization, but we really wanted to give them a kind of network, a group of people who were motivated to be involved in GUM, care about GUM, help spread the word, get people out, get people involved. And so came up with this idea of packs of GUM, which connect up, which is really, playing on the fun of GUM. So to connect up the local disc organization with our Girls State Youth Coordinator, with our Outreach State Youth Coordinator, and link that then to GUM ambassadors on the teams in the area. And so this is an example of the pack of GUM for the Bay Area. I think a handful of these faces are in the audience. Thank you guys. And so in the Bay Area, we have Bay Area Disc. We have our Girls State Youth Coordinator, Adrian Lemberger, and we have our Outreach State Youth Coordinator, Lisa Cooper. And then we have a number of different GUM ambassadors from the teams in the area. And we hope to continue to build this, and we hope to create something like this for every single local area so that we can have that network together. As I mentioned, all of these volunteers. I know there's a handful of Girls State Youth Coordinators in the audience. There's regional youth directors in the audience. It would be hard to read through this whole list. All the ones in pink were new this year, so you can see the incredible expansion of these positions. And thank you to all of them for kind of, as we move through this first year, there's a lot of people to add, and we've been doing our best to kind of work with everyone and get everything off the ground. So thank you to those of you who've been involved for being patient. If you're a state coordinator, if you're on this list somewhere, just leave your hand for a second so we can give you guys a high five. And then another special thank you that we just added at the bottom here. The former manager of the youth education programs before Dan came on was Mike Levinguth, and he the founding of GUM and getting it off the ground with Zara and I. And without him, none of this would have happened and come to be. And so it's pretty important to us to say a special thank you to him, because he very much gave us a lot of power to dream big and kind of think outside the box, and helped us kind of make a lot of those dreams come into reality. So we're really lucky to have Mike on board, and he's still involved in little ways in GUM, which is really exciting. So I'm going to pass back to Zara so she can talk about the data analysis.
All right, this is the last action item. You guys okay? Very good? All right. So it's really important to continue to research and really bring youth voices out. And the way that we want to do that is through different research projects. So the research group was myself, Joanna Neville out of the University of Florida, and Megan Brown, who is now out of the University of Chicago. And we were talking about, okay, so we need to develop a strategic plan. We need to study these distinct youth ultimate communities. And we didn't really feel like we were ready to do that. We really wanted this to come from girls themselves. So Joanna and Megan have designed an awesome study that is happening this year at YCC. YCC is just an enormous opportunity for us to talk to girls and to boys from across the country. So Megan and Joanna will be there, and these are their research questions that they're going to try to answer while they're there. They want to know about the experience of girls at the youth level across different cities and across different levels. And they want to start to get a sense of what are the best practices for cultivating this girls' youth community. They also want to start to identify what are opportunities for growth within the sport for girls. You know, where should we really be focusing our energy? And then lastly, what's the climate or the culture that creates these opportunities for young women, not only to build ultimate skills, but to build leadership skills, to build self-esteem? So they will be there, they will be there interviewing, and I'm just really, really excited with the initiative that they've shown. And if you are interested in reading their proposal, I'm happy to share it. All right. We have a new partnership with the Women's Sports Foundation. This opens up just a ton of doors. The Women's Sports Foundation is just so knowledgeable in terms of growing sports for girls at the youth level, and they also reach a ton of different diverse communities, which we're really, really excited to show Ultimate. One of the ways that we're going to do that, we're working with the Women's Sports Foundation to integrate our Put It Into Play section of this curriculum you're holding into their Go Girl Go curriculum. So we'll be expanding this from 8 sessions into 12, since they want only 30 minutes. And we're hoping that we can really build on that. If, you know, let's say a Boys and Girls Club uses the Go Girl Go curriculum, that then they'll say, hey, we want this leadership component now, so we can give them sort of the next step. This is also a really fantastic way for all of the GUM team members to really be collaborating, because we want to make sure that we're not operating in silos. So this is going to be a place with the Women's Sports Foundation that we're asking the curriculum group and the media group to work together closely.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about how we're going to utilize Ultimate within the Women's Sports Foundation media structure that's already set up. They have these really awesome girl characters that are designed for different sports, and they don't have one for Ultimate yet, so that seems like an obvious place to start. Developing an Ultimate girl character that girls can see in the context of the Go Girl Go curriculum and be really pumped and excited about that. They also have these athlete spotlights on their website, and they have tons of different sports. They run the gamut, and they have none on Ultimate. And so they have offered to add a few Ultimate player profiles to their website, which is really great because we can mirror that on the GUM website as well. And so we're going to work on generating those. And again, this is something that's really great for the GUM media group to work on, along with, in collaboration, the GUM pilot program group. Because as Zara mentioned earlier about GUM pilot programs, the Poster Girl series is something we've been talking about and trying to kind of combine that between the two groups and launch that in a media presence as well as on the ground. It would be really exciting. For these profiles, they essentially include bullet points about the athlete, photo of the athlete in muggle clothes, photo of the athlete in frisbee clothes, and links to all of their different social media aspects. And so there's Facebook pages for these athletes, and so that's something that the media group can build out for the athletes we select, is build out a Facebook page for the fan page for that athlete, and really kind of get linked into that. There's also a really cool component that I thought was neat is within the context of these, there's a invite this athlete to speak at our event. That is through this website, and so for the Ultimate players who are up on this, it'll be an opportunity to also get Ultimate players going and speaking to Go Girl Go groups, or Sports for Life groups. Speaking of Sports for Life, that's another program that the Women's Sports Foundation has. We've sent them over a Learn to Play clinic, but Learn to Play clinic kit. This is the Learn to Play kit, so you can see up at the top that have boxes with Learn to Play discs and resources in them. We're working on kind of generating one that is going to be gum specific. That's my fake model of it down there. You guys like it? Stickers on box. We got a character on the side. She's playing basketball. She'll have a frisbee soon. Gum discs. We do have gum discs right here. Really exciting. And so they have asked about providing some gum kits to them that they can award to some of their Sports for Life grant applicants, because sometimes their grant applicants don't have a specific sport in mind, or they're deciding between sports, and so they'd be like, hey, here's Ultimate, here's this really great sport that you can check out. And so that would be another opportunity to link up with some of our curriculum stuff as well. All right, are you guys ready to have fun? This is fun portion of the presentation, in case you weren't already having fun. So how can you get stuck on gum? How can you get involved? What are ways to kind of be a part of this besides being here and being awesome with you run a gum clinic or a gum event in your community, you can partner with a local girls team to help run a gum event. Some of these have happened and they've been pretty cool because the girls have gotten to be working with role models and then also being role models at the same time. These headbands, they're pretty cool. There are a few of us wearing them. They're 5 Ultimate, and all the proceeds benefit gum programs. Rory brought us a huge bag of them tonight to sell at the end of the talk. They're $5 each, sorry? Or is it 10? Well, 12. I just threw them online. $12. And the money goes to support all gum events. Post photos with your gum headbands. There was a while when Worlds was happening, Beach Worlds was happening, there were lots of hashtag gum around the world going on. Let's keep that going and get those photos going up. And we're really grateful for Five for their support. It's been really awesome to work with them and to really be able to foster gum through their organization as well. And then these are a lot of our gum ambassadors. You haven't seen all of them yet. The slide was just focused on the Bay Area earlier, but we have gum ambassadors all over. There's a lot of them in this room. If you're a gum ambassador, wave your hand. We'll give you a round of applause. But one thing that we want is we want everyone to feel, even if they're not up on the screen, we want everyone to feel like they're empowered to be a gum ambassador. One of the cool things is if you're in the park and you see a girl hanging out watching you playing Ultimate, or you're at practice, you see someone watching playing Ultimate, you see someone throwing a frisbee, opportunity to go out and say like, hey, check out gum. Like, here's a chance for you to get involved. But how do you do that? I was actually coaching a YCC U16 practice not too long ago, and there was a dad in the park that we were at watching the practice, and he was asking all these questions about Ultimate. And he said that he was moving his family over from the Philippines soon and wanted to find a way to get his children involved in Ultimate, and was asking for my email address and websites and everything I could give him on a little scrap of paper. And so how can we do that? So we actually have some gum business cards that Rhoda's going to start passing out. And we're going to do a little fun project real quick, in that once you get a gum business card, you can spend like 2 or 3 minutes chatting with your neighbor, coming up with a elevator speech of like, what are you going to say to that girl who's watching your practice at the field you're at? What are you going to say to the girl who's out throwing a frisbee to tell them about gum and get them fired up about that?
I would probably say something like either watch it, be like, hey, does that look fun? Like, do you ever want to do that or something like that? Well, there's a way for you to get involved in field hockey. You might do that. Just go into your sport. Really great way to make friends. Something you can do in college, college, high school. I even did some junior high teams. And we did just stuff plans. Or I started raised on spirit, not as physical.
So who came up with a really great elevator speech for Gum? Anybody? There's a prize involved if you want to be our volunteer elevator speech for Gum. Who came up with a really good one? Anybody? There's a prize. Who came up with a great elevator speech? Wants to share with the room? Come on. I heard someone say Shelley.
If I was going to go off the packet we had about the just icebreaker thing, just, maybe walk up to someone and ask them if they've, have you ever worn shoes? And then you could be like, sweet, you should try on these cleats.
Is we find freshmen look athletic and throw a frisbee at them. If they throw it back well, we're like, hey, you should play ultimate.
Alright, I'm going to pass back to Zara and we're going to wrap things up.
Alright, so where are we going from here? We've got some goals for 2016. I know we're still in the middle of club season. 2016 feels like it's far away, but we've set them already. So we really want to build out this website, right? So we can host things like the Poster Girls series and other big projects. We want to have our curriculum up there. And then we want to pilot this leadership curriculum. We spent a lot of time developing it. We're really excited about it, so we want to make sure that we're trying it in a couple different cities. To do that, we need to build partnerships with youth-serving organizations, so that's going to be key. Heather Ann has done an incredible job building out this national volunteer structure, and so we really want to increase its capacity, right? We've got skeleton, and so we want to add girls regional youth directors and keep building those packs of gum at the little local levels. And then finally, whatever the research findings are at YCC, we want to be building on those with follow-up inquiry and keeping girls at the center of everything that we do and their voices at the center. So to do all those things, another thing Heather Ann and I talked a lot about is really promoting this movement as a movement that's a community movement, right? This is not a women's issue. This is not something that women are solely responsible for. So how do we promote this as something that we want everyone to be involved in? I want to close with a quote from a player from Washington, and I thought she really hit the nail on the head, so I want to use her words. She said, "I think everyone needs to continually check themselves and those around them to make sure that girls are being supported and encouraged in every way possible to play Ultimate. There's no magic bullet that will make girls want to play. Rather, it's a continual process of evaluating and reevaluating the ways in which leagues and organizations are making themselves accessible or inaccessible to a group of people who historically have been strongly discouraged from taking part in sports and athletics." So that's something that everyone who's involved with GUM really takes seriously, right? We might think we have something really great, And I know that we have a lot of good things going on. We want to be constantly reevaluating. We want to be listening to the feedback that girls are giving us, and we want to be keeping them at the center. So thank you all so much. We're so excited. Stand up here nonchalantly and answer your question.
So for the Learn to Play clinics, is there going to be gum material that is put in that just for girls?
Yes, we are building out, it's not totally finished, a gum kit. So if you are running a girls clinic, we'll have a clinic plan for you, gum discs, things like that. So it'll be slightly different, but it's the same idea.
But that's just for gum, so that's for I know at Masters Nationals there's going to be a Learn to Play clinic. Is there going to be gum material in that for whoever might show up to the room?
That
or is that something you have to request?
That is a great question. I'm not quite sure. Yes.
So I mean, we can do whatever. I mean, I think the idea right now is that we have Learn to Play kits that have been designed generally for outreach programs that apply to any boys or girls, and then the gum focused stuff has been targeted towards girls. And if you want to do that specifically, you want to have a gum version of the Learn to Play. And if you're going to do something that's broader and appealing to boys as well as girls, then you just have to generic Learn to Play. There's probably other ways to do it as well, but that's kind of the direction.
We can get you some. We can do our gum stuff. Yeah.
I'm coaching at YCCs. How can we help you collect the research, and how do you plan to collect research for your class?
Great question. So all of that info should come out in the next week in terms of making sure that we have parental permission, and it's going to be in focus groups. So actual interview style and really, letting the players themselves talk. So we'll get that to you for free.
Would that be like during buys or?
Probably after play. We don't want to distract from what's going on. Yeah.
What division are you coaching?
I'm in mixed.
Okay. YCC, there's also going to be on the Friday of YCC is going to be for the U16 girls division. It's going to be kind of a gum focus day. So tournament play doesn't really start till Saturday for the U16 division, and so on Friday there's going to be kind of a gum focused clinic as well as some leadership sessions incorporated into the U16 division this year.
Not a question, but a comment, in addition to wow and very inspiring. The Women's Sports Foundation relationship is also going to lead to a lot more that I think is incredibly exciting. For example, I do believe that once we get this relationship really established, and it already is established, there will be grants from the Women's Sports Foundation coming to the sport of ultimate for the first time. And they brought that up once they learned about the sport, and we've got them falling in love with the sport. They're getting really fired up about it. So I think, as a community, you should be aware of if going forward there's a girls team, let's say, that's struggling or needs some help. They have some really cool grant programs that I encourage you to investigate. We can help you do that we'll be able to start accessing because they now know the sport of ultimate and they're getting excited about it. The other thing that is going to happen over time, which I think is going to be really cool, is we will get some of our top women players invited to this incredible event that they run that annually celebrates the best women athletes in the nation. And we will be up on the stage with athletes like Serena Williams and the Olympians that come back from winning medals in Rio as athletes on the same stage and at the same level as those athletes, which I think from a media perspective and exposure perspective is going to be incredibly cool. And they brought it up once they learned about it. They said, I don't think we've ever had one of your top athletes come to our dinner. And we said, well, we're going to change that right away. We'll get some top athletes there. And then the other thing, just so you're aware of it, they do really, really cool work in a variety of domains if you're not familiar with the Women's Sports Foundation. The other thing we're doing as a partner is if you watch the broadcasts of our events, we're promoting the Women's Sports Foundation integrated right into our broadcast. And we've invited them to come to our events. They couldn't come to this one, but we're pretty confident we're going to get some representatives to come either to YCC and see the really cool stuff that's going on there, or maybe to the national championships, where we're going to want them to meet all of you so you can make an incredible impression on them, and we can drive this relationship to a super high level. So it's not just the initial stuff we're doing, it's the very big stuff with the Women's Sports Foundation. And they do incredibly cool work for girls and women all over the place. They're really phenomenal. So we're going to do a lot.
How did somebody become a state ambassador or a team ambassador? And then also, is GUM 501c3?
So GUM is underneath the USA Ultimate umbrella, so it fits under that nonprofit. As for becoming a GUM ambassador, talk to us. We just launched the GUM ambassador program about a week ago, so we are actively hiring. A few of you became GUM ambassadors someday. Very exciting. Look how quickly we get on the slide. So if you're interested in becoming a GUM ambassador, we're going to be reaching out to teams, but if you don't get that email, come find us and talk to us about that. The state coordinator positions are all posted on the USAU website. If you look under youth job descriptions, we'll also be linking out from the GUM website to the ones that are applicable to GUM moving forward.
What advice do you have for someone who would be trying to create a sustainable girls program in a community where there are no youth competition opportunities and there's already scarcity of resources for club and college divisions?
Well, I don't mean to harp on the curriculum too much, but that's one of the reasons why we really wanted to make something that we can package and send to a lot of different communities and that they can use the way that they need to, right? So that this GUM curriculum can be run by someone who has never played Ultimate. It could be run by an Ultimate player. It could be run by a team. It could, really, really making sure that it's flexible. So that's one thing is, giving girls an opportunity to build a team, which is really what they do throughout those 8 weeks in that curriculum. So that's one thing I would say. But I want to kind of pool the knowledge in the room because I think a lot of you have done a lot of incredible things. Are there any other follow-up that's not GUM specific? How do you grow a community when you don't have a lot of resources? Yeah.
So one of the things that you mentioned earlier in the presentation I think is really important. It can be a great way to get resources not directly from the Ultimate community, but that can feed your programs like crazy. And I'll give you a really practical example of this. And that is that forming partnerships with youth-serving organizations and getting Ultimate on the menu at those youth-serving organizations. So whether that's the Boys and Girls Club or YMCA. The example I'll give you really quick that's going to work really cool for us is in New York City. The CYO, the Catholic Youth Organization, learned about Ultimate, and they are a great youth-serving organization. They do youth sports really well. They knew nothing about the sport of Ultimate. It is now on their menu with a direct link to the New York Disc Club, which is really just trying to get some good youth programming going. But they don't have to put any resources into it at all. We'll send the kits. We'll get them to introduce it in their menu, and then they'll turn those kids over to you. As long as you have somebody to coach and work with those kids, that's a great way to get a bunch of girls playing the sport through a partnership.
Well, I'm just curious. I know that we obviously is a work in progress, but there's this leadership component and then there's a skill set component. There's a sense of we want to make these women team athletes, but there's also a sense of, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Ultimate is unique because you can create leaders within that sport. I mean, where are you drawing the line? Are you emphasizing one over the other? I know it's early, but I mean, is there a direction in what may be more favorable? I mean, because again, girls have options for sports. We're in an age where we do have options for sports, and if you're talking about limited resources, what are you doing to differentiate Ultimate and Girls Ultimate to get those limited resources and try and corral them your way?
Definitely, I think that's a great question. I'm not trying to dodge the question. What I would say is it does depend on the girls, right? So depending on the group of girls that you're working with, if they're really leaning more towards the skill-based stuff, then maybe that's the direction that you take and you use some extra time for that. If they're really into the leadership component, maybe you go that direction with it. And I think you're right. I think we do have to pilot and see, you know, what are we seeing? You know, already I have an edit for this, which is that Laura, she piloted this first session, and she came back and she said, the girls didn't know what a pivot was. And we need something that shows like what that is a little bit better. So we are tweaking. We're in that tweaking phase right now.
What does she mean by limited resources?
Yeah, that's a good question. What do you mean by limited resources?
Is that you mean, or?
Yeah, the original question.
The original question.
So I'm originally from Florida, and I started playing in college, and there was absolutely no youth development before that. And so a lot of people after college leave Florida, and so the people you're growing in the college division leave, and so you're left with very limited resources. It's taking years to build club programs there, and every year it's rebuilding those. And college teams are always looking for coaches, so there's been so much focus on even just developing those divisions, so there's some competition before that. But then not even having nothing really left over, coaches mostly leaders.
I was going to say that, you know, partnering with OISO really can be helpful in that you can partner with the community center, you can partner with the Boys and Girls Club, and that idea of getting the Learn to Play curriculum going in somewhere like that and teaching people in that organization how to run that can create that sustainability that you're looking for. And then I would say, answer last question, that then you build from that. And so if that, say we use the GUM curriculum or the Learn to Play curriculum, either way, you then can build out of that into like a lead or, you know, like that's kind of the next step, or connecting up with a local organizing group to build that skill base. But this is kind of more of a starting point for areas that may not have any ultimate going on, or may have limited ultimate, or have different levels of ultimate, right? And want to kind of have that extra component that really hooks girls at that younger age and gets them to stick around. And so maybe the leadership component is that thing ultimate unique, makes it a little different, makes them then stick around, and then you can springboard from that into kind of more sport-based ultimate.
Last thing I was going to say to your question that popped back in my head is when we're talking about self-advocating, that's how we're using self-officiating, right? So that's something that our sport has that's pretty unique, and it's really, really built into some of the later sessions when we're talking about how do you advocate for yourself in a way that's positive. And then, so we've talked about that maybe in a classroom setting, but now we're putting it into play on the field.
The Women's Sports Foundation partnership is amazing. Is there any other national organizations that you're focusing on to start good relationships with that we should be focusing on? Like, are you like really excited to target Boys and Girls Club next? So from grassroots level, we should also be focusing on those guys, or like Girls on the Run, or YMCA, or the Catholic organizations, or like maybe like who are you targeting on next so we can help from grassroots perspective? How do you want to feel that?
I thought you were talking about playoffs.
I can talk. So we have talked about partnering with Boys and Girls Club. There's been talk about the Girl Scouts as well. And then another national partner is Playworks, and they work in low-income elementary schools. So right now, the programs that we're running with them are co-ed programs, and so we're interested to see if GUM can be a partnership there. They're in 23 different cities.
In our states where we don't have girls state youth coordinators yet, we're looking to put outreach state youth coordinators in those states and have those outreach state youth coordinators really focus on building those types of relationships and kind of building off of that. That's one of the ideas behind some of the outreach stuff, is to create those relationships with different groups to try to build them.
So I actually got to help run the Learn to Play clinic this morning. It was on the GUM side of things with all the girls. And as that was happening, I was thinking, this is something that's something that your research and stuff has shown. What are the benefits of having, we immediately split boys on one side, girls on the other, and we had just the girls on one side. What are the benefits of having them play together and play separate? And if we're working with a group that is all girls, what, obviously there's a lot of things, but what's like a couple of simple things that you do differently? Because I obviously mostly work with guys and happen to be a guy myself. And so I'm really excited about how guys get coached, but I don't know what the difference is if I'm working with an all-female group.
Yeah. So something that I skipped over sort of by accident on our research slide is that the ultimate goal of doing research is to make recommendations about gender on the youth level. There are a lot of opinions amongst adults about when you use mixed, when you use single gender, what's best for girls, etc. And I think that all of those opinions are really important, but we want to know what girls think before we really make recommendations about that. So that is something that we're actively pursuing.
To answer the second part of your question, and maybe a little bit of the first, I've kind of seen both work. It depends a little bit on the girl, and so it's kind of on a case-by-case basis. Like, I've seen girls excel and be passionate and love the mixed community, and I've seen girls who shy away and aren't as confident in that space. And so I think it depends a little bit on who you're working with and how you target that. When I'm running gum clinics or when I'm talking to people about running gum clinics, one thing I really emphasize is creating like a really community feel at the beginning. When we kick off a gum clinic, we talk about why we love Ultimate. We talk about how important high fives are and giving all of the high fives and just creating that atmosphere of this is going to be fun and we're all going to be running around and laughing and high fiving and supporting each other, and creating that from the get-go has been a really positive way to kick off a lot of this gum stuff.
So I had a comment about it's related to the packs of gum and all the connections that are there's a bunch of the convention part of the there's a bunch of little disc associations, and there are a bunch of you guys club teams who are here as well. One of the things that we're looking to do down the line is connect those two groups. In some places that's already happening kind of organically, they're part of the same communities, but even in really big communities, places like Denver, you find that the leagues are running over here, and the youth stuff is happening over here, and the club teams are happening over here. And we want to push all that together. We want to empower the local disc associations to feel like they can be sort of the go-to place to provide not just local adult recreational opportunities as the leagues, but to be the place where coaching education happens, and youth outreach happens, and club teams feel like they're part of that as well. Because you guys are the coaches. You guys are the ones who can go out and provide sustainable long-term leadership for those programs. So look for that in the future. We're going to be continuing to build towards that. And don't be surprised if we start sort of pushing in that direction, saying, hey, San Francisco, Bay Area, DISC, we expect down the line that you're taking a revolver to Fury and kind of having them become part of the organization, because we know that's what's going to help create sustainable structures for the youth.
We are out of time. So I just want to wrap up by saying again, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for being part of building this movement. We are so excited about gum and all of the work that we have ahead of us. And we want to put a plug in for the next session, which is the Gender Equity Open Forum. Please stick around for that. I'm not sure if it's in this room or in the next.
It's right here.
Oh, it's right in here. Well, you can
It's
send
funny,
strategy
Steve.
stuff.
You
But
both just make the same point to me.
During our stretch break, if you'd like to purchase a gum headband, please come up here. Okay, 5 minutes.
I think he does.